We also have a grandson who just turned 7. We were discussing it, and we were afraid that our grandson would never have an opportunity to drive our cars. So I know if we put him on hydrogen, he will.
He's just a good old boy who loves burning rubber and driving fast.
All right, here at Arrington Performance, and today we are going to talk about something that, in my opinion, could be world-changing. And I know that's crazy coming from a drag racer that does nothing but burn a lot of nitro and stomp on the loud pedal, tear up some parts. But I'm still here with my buddy Mike, and we talked about the 57 Chevrolet with the Gen 3 Hemi, but this man has done something that, as far as I know, the only people really working on it and have actually done it is the OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. Mike, you have made the hydrogen work.
We have.
And what we're talking about today is something that's never been done, and that is a non-OEM car that's actually going to be sold.
That's correct. Yep. Your 57 Chevy, working with CRC and of course yourself and Jeff and all of your partners, we're going to build this 57 Chevy that runs on hydrogen. Supercharged Hemi. In the last video I said we were going to target 500, and we're just going to limit it there. That's where injector technology is today on a single set. So we're going to run that. We're going to set up to run 500 horsepower. And then after we debut it at SEMA, you guys are going to take it and sell it.
That's unbelievable.
This will be the first ever hydrogen performance engine vehicle sold to anyone in the general public.
I mean, that's huge. The entire world, nobody has ever bought one that was non-OEM. I guess I'm saying that correctly, aren't I?
You are. Yeah, well, we're the only ones who've ever built one.
Right.
We got 3 of them. One of them's a monster truck.
Yeah.
One's in a Falcon, and one's in a 48 Chevy pickup that belongs to my wife. But no one, we've never sold one to the public. Frankly, when you guys approached me about doing this, and your partners at Edelbrock and everybody, and we talked about doing the Hemi, and then the issue with hydrogen came up, the opportunity. If you don't know, when we run on hydrogen, we have 0 carbon. So we've EPA tested and certified some of our other engines. We know what it is, but it's the next answer, right?
So obviously, it is such a big thing in the world. Is this the way we save the internal combustion engine? Is this the answer? I mean, 0 carbon emission, you just said.
Yep.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so the harmful pollutants are carbon, obviously, but NOx is also a byproduct of internal combustion. Anytime that you create combustion with temperature, the higher the NOx. There's some other things that affect it, right? Those are both harmful, identified as harmful to the people, to the environment, to all of those things. So in our case, the testing on the truck, we're 0 carbon. There's carbon in air all around us, and we breathe it, everybody else. And people say, well, it's not much. Well, from the time they kind of been following it, it was 0.2 is where carbon was at. Today, carbon, a number of years, right? But it's 0.4. So the real question is, where does it become harmful? Does it become harmful at 100.0, or does it become harmful at 0.5? We don't really know, right? We won't know until we get there, and hopefully with hydrogen and with all the other things that are going on, maybe we can keep it from getting there and we don't have to figure that out. There's a natural cleansing that happens in the world, but we're still at 0.4. You could say, well, that's not much. Well, it's twice as much as we had. Right. So I guess it is. Yeah. But in our testing, we actually scrub a minimal amount of carbon out of the air as we burn the air through the engine. Our NOx levels, you know, we see a lot of NOx when you test it in cars, and diesels in particular, at 4 point something, 2 point something. Our highest recorded NOx on hydrogen today with zero exhaust after treatment is 0.083.
Wow.
Now that's exceptionally low. That's something that we've developed for hydrogen, and we're kind of leading with that. But it's a path, right? And anytime you reduce things that are known to be harmful to people, the better off you are. So we're continuing down that path. We'll get better and better. I have EPA certification tests that we ran at Roush Industries that prove and back up what I'm saying. So it's quite an accomplishment. We're proud to be the first people to do it.
So the truck you built that has been seen all over the place.
We're at Arrington Performance to check out this truck. It says hydrogen on it, and that's not a joke. We need to figure out how this thing works.
So the exhaust coming out of that thing is clean.
No carbon at all. Yeah, it actually minimal amount, little tiny amount of water, and you could actually, they claim, capture the water and drink it. I'm not going to. But,
Right.
But I've had people, you know, put that on their hand and say it has no taste. Well, it's because there's nothing in it, right? But yeah, it's just a minuscule amount of water. And once the exhaust comes to temperature, it just comes out as a vapor and disappears.
Right.
You never even see it.
Yeah. And you've driven this truck a lot now. I mean, it's very dependable. Get in it and go.
Yeah, if you get in one of our hydrogen vehicles, fired up, if you didn't know it was hydrogen and you drove off, you would not know it's hydrogen.
Yeah.
It drives just like it does on gasoline. We're at 500 horsepower in the truck, which is exactly where we're going to go with this Hemi. And they're super dependable. You know, there's, depending on the size of the tank, you got range. Hydrogen availability is still a bit of a struggle in a lot of the country, but it's coming. So 26, it'll be available in a lot more places, and then it'll just get more and more and more. So we've talked about you being an engineer in the previous video. I mean, where did the idea come from? I mean, was it the electric cars coming and you're an internal combustion guy, or I mean, where did this all start for you? Well, I've always known about hydrogen. You know, at GM, I worked in advanced technology vehicles, some advanced vehicle integration. So we were always on the forefront. I mean, I built electric cars in like 2003, 2002. So anytime you see something that comes to production, it's got years of work in it. So I knew what the shortcomings were. I knew what the positives were. We built the first hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. And if you don't know, in a fuel cell, you inject hydrogen into a membrane, you burn it as it passes through the membrane, and it creates electricity. That electricity is pulled off and put into a battery pack, and then that battery pack is used through electric motors to drive the vehicle. So it's really a self-electric generating based on hydrogen system. So, but it's still an electric vehicle. Hydrogen internal combustion, I mean, I've been a hot rodder my entire life. I just love, there's nothing in the world better to me than the sound of a V8 engine, whether it's idling, especially if it's got a good cam in it, or at full song. I mean, you give me an engine at 7,500 RPM, that's just music to me. I mean, that's the best music you can get. That a hot rodder would want hydrogen. And hydrogen, had some experience with it and how it works and what it does. It's an opportunity to save what we love, right? My wife and I combined have like 20 cars, right? Most of them are hot rods, some of them big horsepower. I got a 2,100 horsepower GMC Canyon. I got 1,000 horsepower Jeep. I mean, we live for this stuff, right? I got 1,000 horsepower Challenger. We also have a grandson who just turned 7. We were discussing it, and we were afraid that our grandson would never have an opportunity to drive our cars. So I know if we put him on hydrogen, he will. So we started down that path. The further we got, the more we learned, the better we got, the more advanced we got with what we're doing. Today we can drive them around just like they're on gasoline. it's a path, right? Eliminate the carbon, kill the NOx. How much better does it get?
So essentially, don't take this the wrong way, this is a big company, but it is nothing compared to the OEMs, but yet here you are. You've done it. Your company has figured this out. And I mentioned this earlier, kind of joking, like I said something about the Tucker car.
Yeah.
You know, here you are, small company compared to them, and they've got to be paying attention now, I would think, because again, the world is starting to find out what you've done, what you've created here.
Yeah, well, so when we started down the path, I have some really smart friends, thank God, and you know, one of my best friends is an engineer I worked with at GM named Al Butlin. Al had a lot of hydrogen experience as well with fuel cells and things like that. So he came in and supported me and helped me. He's now our chief engineer for our future programs. So Al's a super smart guy. So Bosch kind of partnered with me to do some of that. They had some super smart people, and we just worked together and created this path. It works out really well because engineers engineer, technicians do what they do. You know, we were able to take the best of both worlds and accomplish, frankly, what a lot of people still call us liars and say we can't do, right?
Yeah.
We raced our truck in the Optima Ultimate Streetcar Invitational in Las Vegas.
On hydrogen.
Yeah, it became the first ever hydrogen ICE vehicle to compete in a race series in North America. But a friend of mine, Aaron Oberle, he drove for us because I was debuting our next project. And he said he had more than 100 people crawl under the truck looking for a gas tank because it's out there running around and racing and competing. And we got a big tank in the bed to show off that it's hydrogen. And he had tons of people that crawled under it because they didn't believe it was true. I still get some people that say that occasionally,
Yeah.
but we've got a lot of exposure, been a lot of places. We got one video on YouTube with over 2 million views. It's got a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore do they question, did you? Today they question, how did you?
Right.
So that's kind of the path.
So what's like the ultimate goal here? I mean, is it to get the OEM guys to figure out this is the way to keep internal combustion going? I mean, I know that's a huge question I'm just asking, but I mean, kind of what's your vision, I guess, is my real question.
Well, I think, you know, there's a number of OEs and a number of the big companies out there in the world that are working on hydrogen as well. So that's a path for new vehicles, for new anything, right? Whether it's airplanes or it's boats or whatever it is. From our perspective, our focus, according to SEMA, there are 292 million registered internal combustion vehicles in the U.S. There are 20 million in Canada, there's 6 million in Australia, all over the world. Our path is to develop programs and packages that allow you to convert your vehicles. So by converting your vehicles to run on hydrogen, you don't have to throw them away anymore, right?
Yeah.
Now you can save the world for our future generations. You can do all of those things on hydrogen, and we're focused at those kits for all those vehicles, all of those different vehicles, right?
So I'm probably going to be like a lot of the viewers here. Where would we get hydrogen? How do you see that happening as we move forward?
Yeah, it depends on where you're at, right? Right now, there are more than 50 public filling stations in California. They're right now building the first one in Michigan. It's coming, right? The infrastructure bill, the latest one, had $7 billion to build 8 to 10 hydrogen centers across the country, kind of super centers, right? And that's going on right now. I just read that 3 of them have been approved their funding and the checks are supplied. So that's coming. Each of those are set up to cover about 3 states. The goal of the government supporting them and funding them is to lower the cost of hydrogen by 80%. So if they do that, when you do all the math and all the correlation and everything, hydrogen will cost less than $1 a gallon.
Wow.
So
That's insane.
yeah, so that's coming across the country starting in 26. So that's kind of where we've got most of our retrofit kind of focus and those things targeted that era. You know, we've identified 8 verticals that hydrogen can work within and support. And we're working on the first vertical right now, and 2 more that'll come shortly after that. And then we'll work towards that so you can convert your 69 Camaro or your 70 Challenger or your Mustang.
$1 a gallon. I mean, $1.
It kind of equates, because we sell it by kilogram, but
okay.
when they reduce the cost, today a kilogram of hydrogen is about $30. And in California, it's about 25 here in Michigan. But when you break it all down and do the math, a kilogram equals about 5 gallons of gas. So if they get the price down to basically $5 a kilogram, that's of course before taxes, and our government, you know, is going to tax it.
So that's a good question. So a tank in the truck, let's just say, and I know you have a Falcon as well. We hadn't talked about that. I keep bringing up the truck. Like, how far can you drive? Like,
well, the truck has more development, more advancement than any of our other vehicles. But we get about 200 miles out of 3 kilograms in a truck. Now, a lot of people will tell you that that's impossible because the math doesn't work, and math is no different than anything we do analytically, right? You put crap in, you get crap out. You cannot calculate hydrogen economy or hydrogen use the same way you calibrate gasoline. So just the simplest thing, an internal combustion engine, naturally aspirated, peak efficiency is at 14.7 parts of air, 1 part of fuel, okay? So that's the ratio that you always try and calculate by. We've run the engine, our hydrogen engine, because the differences between hydrogen gas, more energy per volume, all of those things, we've run as lean as 100 to 1.
wow.
Right?
That's a scary number for a hot rodder standing behind this camera.
Oh yeah, you got your nitro cars probably run at about 4 to 1.
Almost 1 to 1 these days, actually.
Wow, we used to run them at like 4 to 1, but
Yeah.
we weren't boosting them. So yeah, I mean it was crazy how much. But 100 to 1. Now that's not where we run it all the time.
Right.
But we can and we have. Right. So take that simple math formula that you ran to tell me how much energy is in a gallon of gasoline compared to hydrogen. So run that formula and then change that number to 100 to 1.
Yeah.
Then come back and tell me what it is.
It's crazy. I am just blown away that you are going to allow us to do this, you know, meaning we're selling a car that the money will go to scholarships, and you're going to put it out in the world. I mean, that's pretty crazy for me to think about you doing that, because basically you're going to be releasing the technology that you've developed to somebody, whoever the highest bidder is.
Yeah,
you know?
well, and some of the beauty, right? So Phinia is helping us with fuel injectors. So everybody asks what these look like because they all think they're different. A hydrogen fuel injector looks a lot like a regular fuel injector that runs on gasoline.
It looks identical to me.
And the housing is, but every part in it's different.
Oh, I'm
right?
sure.
These are designed for high pressure. They're designed for a gas instead of a liquid. There's just a lot of things that go along with that. But Phinia came on board. They know what we're doing. They're supporting me with injectors. I got some stuff coming from Bosch that we're working with, and they're doing the same thing, right? So, you know, this will be the first ever one sold to the public.
That's just wild to me that you wanted to do that.
Well, it's because of CRC, and it's because of Jeff Lutz, and it's because of you, right? I mean, you guys have been friends for a number of years, and I truly want to support the whole deal for paying for scholarships. We need more car people, right? We need more people.
Yes, we need to actually say that, because there'll be a lot of people watch this video. So the scholarships are really cool for me and Mike. You may not know this, but they're going to tech schools, whether it's HVAC, electricians, or what we love, and that's mechanics. And so that's pretty cool what, again, CRC, Arrington Performance, Edelbrock, all the people involved with this deal. I mean, to me, it's a feel-good thing, but what you're doing to me is just incredible because of the technology that you're going to put out in the world here.
Yeah, well, whoever buys this 57, and I'm really hoping, I think we all are, that it brings a lot of money, right? It'll go at one of the major auctions around the country.
Yeah.
But whoever buys it forever is going to have the first ever performance hydrogen car that's been sold to the public.
First ever. I mean, that's just crazy. I can't believe we're here talking about this. When we talked about the Gen 3 and the 57, I was super pumped about doing that. And then when I didn't dare even bring this up about making this thing run on hydrogen, but that was you. Like, as soon as we talked about the Hemi, you're like, yeah, we're doing that. And not only that, we're doing the hydrogen. You didn't hesitate.
Well, actually, if you remember, Edelbrock's the one that brought it up. So they had their new Hemi head coming out, and they knew what we were doing with hydrogen and everything else. And so they actually said something to you, and then we had more conversation, and you asked about the hydrogen. And we're far enough along with it now that what we do can be given to the public, right? I mean, we've learned so much and come so far.
So what you're doing is obviously going to be huge for the environment, and I don't know, you may not even want to talk about none of it, and I'm not asking you to if you don't want to, but you're looking at all kinds of applications. I mean, what you're doing is literally world changing. It can be, you know, so I mean, you're looking at so many other places, and I love the fact that you're doing that.
Well, the deal with hydrogen is, and the program that we have and how it operates, it doesn't care what it is, as long as it's internal combustion, whether it's gasoline or diesel, a single cylinder, we're looking at some engines that I've been requested that are 2,270 cubic inches, right?
Let your mind run over that, folks. 2,270 cubic inches.
Yeah, they kind of round off to 95 liters. Think about that when you get in your car with a 5.7 or a 6.0, 97 liters. So but we're looking at those, right? And we're working on some other programs right now, converting some diesel engines over, and there's just the opportunity to make huge differences, and that's what we're working on.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We could go on and on about this, but all I can say is I want to thank Mr. Mike Copeland, and he's changing the world, people. He's working on keeping what we love, and that's hot rods, internal combustion. I love what you said earlier. It's nothing like high RPM of a V8 engine, and he's working on keeping that where his grandson, your grandkids, you name it, can keep hearing the beautiful sound of a high-revving internal combustion engine. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Clay. Make sure you save your wallet. Start saving money now, so next year when we auction this thing off, let's get some scholarships for a lot of students.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Woo! I don't know how to top this video, but I appreciate you guys watching, liking, subscribing, sharing. See you in the next one.